Hi guys, it's Jack, the Dorset dog trainer here, coming at you from Kenilworth Castle, or just outside of it, on my holidays in Kenilworth. But I wanted to have a quick chat with you all about the difference between anxiety and fear, because a lot of caregivers get this wrong, and it can actually very badly impact your dog's behaviour, because there is a real key distinction. So we're going to pretend for a moment that your dog doesn't like castles and might be a little bit anxious or a little bit fearful of them. Now, if a dog is fearful of something, that means that they are scared of the thing when it is in the environment. So your dog, for example, could be walking along this country lane, happy as Larry, and then they will spot the castle in the distance. They'll have quite a strong reaction perhaps, but the moment that that castle goes away, their behaviour is more or less the same or fine. Now obviously we know from a chemical point of view there's going to be a lot of stuff going on after a reaction to something, but their behaviour more or less returns to the same. It's only in the presence of that thing that they have a strong reaction. That's fear. Now, anxiety is the belief that you're going to encounter that thing. So if your dog was walking along this country lane and started displaying anxious behaviour even before they spotted the castle, that would be anxiety. So the actual thing that they're afraid of doesn't need to be in the environment for them to start feeling scared. I use the example a lot of a dentist's waiting room as a place that we might feel anxious. Nothing bad has ever actually happened in a dentist waiting room, but a dentist waiting room immediately precedes going to the dentist and then having a dental procedure, which can be quite stressful. And the reason this distinction is so important is that when I work with caregivers, they will come to me and they will present their dogs as either anxious or fearful, but a lot of the time we get that wrong. So if your dog is just fearful, then the way that we would deal with them and their triggers is vastly different from a dog who is generally anxious. Because if a dog is anxious in an environment and is predicting that something scary is going to happen, then what actually ends up occurring is that all of those hormones and all of those kind of triggers build up before they've even encountered the thing, which makes actually dealing with the triggers themselves a real issue. If your dog is wandering around believing that something bad is going to happen, concerned that something bad is going to happen, then that's actually where we need to start. Whereas if your dog is just fearful of something, and just, I'm not saying doesn't make it any less severe, but if your dog is capable of going on a dog walk and being absolutely fine, but only reacting when they come across their trigger, be it another dog or a person or whatever it is, or a castle in the example that I've given you here, then we would deal with that far more focused on the triggers themselves. Whereas if it is anxiety, we're going to have to do a little bit of work on building their confidence just generally in that environment. Another way to kind of view it is that there are some dogs who have had, say, one really bad experience at the vets, but have actually, apart from that, not really had bad experience. But every time they return to the vets, they feel anxious and they feel afraid, even though nothing bad has happened, and nothing bad will happen again. And by bad, I mean, maybe they've broken a bone and had to have kind of an uncomfortable situation with the vet or whatever it is. And there are dogs who go their entire lives only having one what we would class as a stressful event at the vets, but it actually affects their ability to cope in the vets throughout their entire lives, and they feel anxious when going in, even if they actually never encounter that trigger again. Another common one for people is, let's say you got mugged in a town, you might actually be wandering around the town a few weeks later feeling really anxious and unsure. Even if you never come across being mugged again, that anxiety can still sit with you. It's very common as well with dogs who are attacked as puppies, right? So many dogs are attacked as puppies and then are never actually attacked again, but they hold on to that anxiety and that belief that they might be attacked. Whereas versus fear tends to just be the idea that they spot the thing, they have a really bad reaction, and they go about their day. Kind of like how for lots of us, if we're fearful of spiders, we don't tend to kind of sit here and think, oh, there might be a spider in the environment, unless it's a really bad fear. But we have a reaction when we spot a spider, the spider goes away, we get rid of the spider, we kill the spider, whatever we do, and then we're able to quickly recover and move on with our day. So that's the difference between fear and anxiety. And it's really important that we make that distinction, and we'll discuss that in future videos, because when I'm working with a caregiver and their dog, if there is anxiety there, we need to deal with that anxiety first before we even consider working with the fearful triggers, because we need to change the association with that environment and what it predicts. And if I'm working with a dog that's just fearful, then rather than sat here and doing all that environmental work, it's just about changing the association with the trigger. So next time I'm going to have a little bit of a chat with you about environmental anxiety, something that I see a lot, and we're going to talk about how your dog can make associations with certain environments that can impact and actually cause reactivity, even if they're fine with, say, other dogs and people out and about on a walk in general. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon. Bye!